Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and welcome to this next entry within the psychological series. Today we'll be talking about the topic of analysis paralysis. So this is a big one that I've been getting a lot recently, which is very important because the issue is we have too much information. We have too much indicators. We have too much signals. We have too much things to look at, which can be conflicting and can cause us to completely let go and actually demolish what technical analysis is meant for. And that is for the statistical edge over a long period of time. So with that said, I just want to first kind of describe the problem and go into a little bit. Then we'll go into some examples. But where this is born from is just the fact that we live in an age where there's 1,000,001 indicators. There's 1,000,001 different time frames. There's 1,000,001 different people saying all sorts of different things, which they are in some way equally valid. However, when you combine certain things from a trading perspective, it is not valid because it just leads into this very, very real problem of analysis paralysis, where you might think that you have a signal on one time frame given one indicator, and then another time frame and another indicator, it's telling you the exact opposite, which causes some massive cognitive dissonance, which just creates this internal battle inside of your brain, which makes it incredibly difficult to, in fact, almost impossible to put on and make the proper trades, because when you're fighting this internal battle, you're going to be taking that mental RAM space away from actually dedicating it to more positive and tangible things that can help you, instead of thinking about these things that are just conflicting, which will only serve to confuse you. I like to make an analogy like this, where when you're using different, if you're getting stuck in this analysis paralysis, as I'm going to call it, aka using too many indicators, or just getting confused between different signals on one time frame, different signals on another time frame, it's like you're walking along a path, and now you're at a crossroads, and you can go left or you can go right. Each path is equally valid. They will both get you to a specific destination if you desire, but you have to pick one path. If you pick both, or if you just even get caught in the middle of picking both and time starts to expire, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to get lost, which is exactly what happens with a lot of people presented with all this information. So this was something that I really struggled with a lot when I first began learning technical analysis, because it's very sexy when you first start learning it. You learn about all these different indicators. First, you hear about the horizontal supports and resistances, and you're like, oh my God, this is great. Then you look at candlesticks, and you're like, oh my God, this is great. And then you look at exponentials, and you're like, this is even better. And then you look at stochastic RSI, and you're like, what the fuck is this? No, just kidding. Stochastic RSI, never mind. It's okay. There's much better indicators to pick on. My point is all of these indicators are technically equally valid. They are giving you some sort of statistical edge, which over time, with good risk management, is likely to produce winning trade philosophy, which over time builds up the account. It's not always going to be right, but if you keep on taking that edge, statistically speaking, it should, again, mediated by good risk management, increase your overall portfolio value or your trading account, or whatever you're measuring off of over time. With that said, let's get into the live scene right here, and we're going to go over some examples, right? And I think this is a perfect, we have a perfect setup right now, right? Because if you go down here to perhaps, let's do something very, very aggressive. Let's go down to a 5-minute and look at it right over here, and we're like, oh my God, bringing up my indicators, and I'm looking at my 5-minute stochastics, and we're coming down. I better get short, right? Well, remember, this is a 5-minute time frame. So even if we're going to look at stochastics in general, and we get caught in not even just using different indicators, but just the same indicator, look at how different it can be across multiple different time frames. So this is your 5-minute. It's coming down. Well, what if I go over here to our 12-hour? It's going up. What do I do now? I'm supposed to be long, right? Well, of course. Think about it this way. How many 5-minute candles can you fit into one 12-hour time frame? A lot. I don't know the maths off the top of my head, but it's a lot. And my point is that you can have an infinite amount of these indicators being completely incongruent with each other, but over time, It's that time frame which is going to give you that statistical edge. So if I am playing the 12-hour, my point is I'm going to be judging my trades off a 12-hour time frame. This is why when I say if you're going to make a decision on a specific time frame, if you're going to make a chart on a specific time frame, also make the decision on that specific time frame as well. That's the best way that I've found to do it in order to not get stuck in this. In fact, I'd even go as far as saying, hey, if you want to make things easy for yourself, and this is in the context of being a trader, not as an analyst, but as a trader, you can honestly disregard just about everything else if you have your plan very well laid out. It is almost irrelevant in my experience. When I traded traditional markets, I traded the 5-minute and the 15-minute. Nothing else. I looked at a daily chart maybe once a week, and even then it wasn't a big deal. It's like, oh, looks like this one's still bullish, so maybe I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive on the buy side. My point is that when you're going to create a trading style, be very specific with what you're looking for so that you do not get stuck in between these two roads. Now, let's do something a little bit more granular. Like let's go down to perhaps a 5-minute and see how it can work together. So we're going to use a 5-minute once again. We see the 5-minute Stokes are down. Now, my kind of rule with this is I'll use 2x that time frame on the same indicator to judge where we are from a higher time frame perspective. So in this case, it would be consulting with the 10-minute, which I'll click onto right now. You can see that the 10-minute is up. So remember, there's going to be 2 5-minutes in every 10-minute, right? Of course, math's working pretty well right now. See that the 10-minute is up. So we see 10 minutes up while 5 minutes are coming down. Well, what does that tell us? That tells us that the faster the faster the time frame, we have things pulling back. The higher time frame, we have things generally floating up. So over time, I would expect this to float on in that direction. So if I am going to trade the 5-minute, I do want to keep that in mind. Because there likely will be some confluences with that. And then from there, with that sort of assumption that I can make, then I will, I'll go on my 5-minute Stokes and I'll say, hey, you got a trend line right over here, probably hits this trend line and then bounces off that. Now, this is, again, I'm not making trades off this. I don't trade any cryptocurrencies on the 5-minute or the 10-minute or really anything even below. Nowadays, like a 12-hour, it doesn't, I don't think it's been too viable in the past year. Can it be done? Yeah, absolutely. But I think that time is best spent elsewhere. So my point is, hey, if you're going to create a plan, stick with the plan, and it's almost best to cut everything else out. Yes, it is good to consult with other people, hear differing opinions, but a lot of it is mental masturbation when it comes down to analysis. And analysis and trading are two completely different things. Analysis has no accountability with your actual P&L. Nothing tangible is, in danger or in glory, or like in glory essentially. By the same token, as a trader, well, now your profit and loss, your account's value is at stake. It can be good, it can be bad. So these are two different things, and you can be a great trader but a terrible analyst. You can be a great analyst and be a terrible trader. These things are mutually exclusive. They are not necessarily related to each other. So with that said, now let's get into the next topic where people will use a slew of different indicators, which, hey, I'm guilty myself. When I do analysis, not trading, but analysis, I show a bunch of different indicators. Yes, I do. And there's a reason for that because, well, to come up with a good analysis of the higher time frames, seeing, where the overall direction is going, well, it's going to require multiple looks. I want to see different perspectives with different weights on each and every one. Is that how I trade though? Not really. Because my trading strategy is very simple. I trade supporting resistance more often than not. That's all it is. It's nothing too sexy. It's not. I think most people can figure this out, relatively quickly. I mean, I've seen it. People in the programs pick it up really fucking fast. People in the general community, they pick it up just as fast. It's very, very simple, and that's why I like it. It is simple, so it's easy to fall, and there's less areas to fuck up with. It's when people get into this sort of matrix of different indicators and different time frames, and they want everything to match up. It's gonna make it very difficult because remember, they're all in some way fractally related to each other. And I hate that I just used that word, but it is a proper, it is a proper context, right? So again, if you're gonna trade so in a way, I'll bring this to the next level of discussion, and this is where it gets a little bit more Jedi-like, but and it's going to sound like perhaps I'm contradicting some of the things I just said, but hear me out. Okay, so there's a very specific way that I trade. I trade mainly support and resistance, mediated by first and foremost the exponentials, then Stokes, then the Joule, and then RSI. With that said, I put differing weights on each and every one of them because they should all have some relation to each other in the way that I'm looking for price action to react with my strategy. So I've found great confluences between these ones, which work with my personal strategy. If you're going to go out there and use multiple indicators, I would actually suggest that it's best to simplify it first and then work your way on up from there if you do find that there's another indicator that complements your strategy over time. But first, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Remember, fortunes have been made just trading horizontals, just trading candlestick pattern, or just trading literally candlesticks. It can be done is my point. Now, I'm going to bring up also, and I actually don't know the name of the study off the top of my head, but it is, I'm sure that you can, just a quick Google search, you can probably figure it out. And we as humans get stuck when we have too many options. It's almost too overwhelming, which makes it impossible for our minds to interpret, and we feel like we can't make a good decision with too much information. It's actually a problem in the current day and age because this is the age of the internet. We all have like the world's information at the, on our phones, in our pocket at all hours of the day. It's crazy. We're just not designed for this. Remember, we evolved from hundreds of thousands of years ago. I don't know the exact number on this. Feel free to correct me in the comments, please. Where people grew up. I mean, we kind of evolved in these situations where we didn't know shit, and we really didn't have access to all that much. It was more of a scarcity mindset, right? So our brains weren't really set up to interpret a myriad of different signals. We actually do a lot better with very simple instructions. In fact, there's been a study done where people were given access to, I think it was 3 indicators or like 10 indicators, right? Guess which group did better? The group with 3 indicators, because they weren't fighting that internal battle trying to make everything work. And when they weren't fighting that internal battle, they could see things very clearly. And then, hey, if your edge isn't working out, you take off your position, because that is what your edge is telling you. And if you're not playing your edge, you're not going to get your statistical advantage over time. Of course, remember, this is always, always, always in the context of having risk management. So here's the resolution to this rant. Here is what I want you to do. Simplify. Pick 3 indicators at most. Nothing more. In fact, you can even go less. Just do 1 and run with that. Devise a plan and only pay attention to that. Yes, I know this sounds counterintuitive. We think that by looking at more, we're doing more, but understand that that is just going to lead on into more confusion overall and leads us away from the actual statistical edge that we're really working with, which is what makes technical analysis viable in the first place. So simplify. Maybe even just start with 1 and pick whatever it might be. Again, it can be as simple as just using trend lines. It can be that simple. In fact, simple is better. So with that said, I hope this one sheds light on it. I'll be making more of these videos soon. And with that said, take care and see you soon.